Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of Question Block. Now, it's been a little while since I've done one of these, um, mostly because of the holidays, and the questions were a little few and far between. And I had to kind of dig a little bit for some questions here, but I'm okay with that. Just if you do have questions that you would like to see in a future Question Block, go ahead and put them in the comments. I basically go through my comments section and take a look at all of them, and then copy, clip them and then make this video. So, if you have a question or a common one is silver, which I've addressed in another video, but I think I'll address in this one as well. Um, but if you have a question, just post them in the comments and I will try to get to them when I do a question block, or I may even answer them in one of the free to play episodes. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, question number 1. We've got, how do you get your champs to hit so hard? I started playing this year and am up to Nightmare Clan Boss, but all my champs don't hit as hard as I want them to, no matter how I gear them. I have a Ray as a nuker and have her built for Arena, but she still only hits for like 30 to 40k with defense down, and that's my biggest hitter. And that is from Matt Kurz. Okay, so this is like a common question. And the unfortunate thing is that there's a lot that goes into how hard champions can hit. So, I'm on my main account right now. If we look at my champions, so I have Sun Wukong in lethal gear. I've got my Hefrak, if I can find him. Am I blind? There he is. He's in Savage gear. But my Staltus is just in a mixed bag of gear to get him decent stats. If we look at purely stats, aside from having more crit rate than he needs, these stats are and being very slow, these stats are very similar to the stats of my Sun Wukong on the free-to-play account. The reason I mention this because Sun Wukong does not have any Savage gear or lethal gear. He has, other than his built-in ignore defense mechanics, he doesn't have any defense ignore. And neither does my Staltus. And my Staltus doesn't hit as hard as I want him to. To be clear, my answer to your question is not that you need Savage gear or that you need ignore defense gear. That's not the official answer. But in situations where my champion isn't doing as much damage as I want them to do, right now, it's because I don't have the ability to ignore a lot of the defense that he comes across. So I use Staltus in Tag Team Arena. You'll see I've already used my keys. Do I get any good teams here? Yeah, I could use a refresh. I want points anyways because I'm close to getting a Void Shard. So let's pop the refresh here. And we'll take on this one. And I feel like I can kind of show you all 3 phases here. We don't want to do... So this team has to go against Harima. So my Staltus has to go against Harima here. So we'll get to see Staltus. Multiple AoE hitters here, so I like that. And we'll go with my speed team against this. I'm going to turn off auto so that we can kind of show you guys. Tag Team Arena is the best way because for me to show you, because these teams are pre-made and everything. So this is kind of a go second team. That's why Staltus is in it. He's defense based. Try and clear off some of these buffs. And I'd rather get some fears out there. So Sun Wukong's going to come back, but right now we just kind of burned through. There we go. as worried about Sun Wukong. So weak hits there. That's another thing to consider. But I kind of wanted to show off like my Stultus here. My Stultus hits really hard. And he's built likely better, all due respect, but he's likely built better than what your Ray is built at. And I only say that because you said you were free to play, I think. Maybe you did not say that, so I take back what I said. But sometimes other factors matter, right? So right now we're having a hard time breaking down the UDK because of affinity matchup. Because I think Stultus is... Oh no, Stultus is critting, yeah, so... it's the Sun Wukong that's weak affinity for Stultus. So that could be a factor. Affinity matters. If you're trying to hit a champion that is weak, that is a positive affinity to Rey, meaning that she gets a weak hit. You know, that's part of the game, right? But it's not always, you know, it's not always the case. It's not always the reason. It's just one of the many factors. And that's kind of why I said this is a difficult question, because there are so many factors involved when it comes to doing damage. So eventually I grind them down. But if you don't already know, Stultus is one of the better DPS arena nukers in the game. He's defense-based, which means he has survivability, and he hits really hard. As you saw, he still hit hard, but I couldn't ignore a lot of the defenses that team had, right? So this particular team functions quite differently. This is a team that is all about surviving and letting my Mortu Macabre do all the damage. Now, Mortu Macabre, in this instance, is kind of easy to build. And I say that because he gets a full defense ignore on his ability. I'm going to keep hitting. I want the counterattacks here to trigger Mortu Macabre's passive. So he did not get his passive triggered. But these hits aren't especially hard. The enemy is just relatively weak compared to my team. I really just want... So this team, the whole concept is that I keep trying to get them to use their AoE hits and trigger Mortu, so he gets this ability, which is crazy strong, as you just witnessed. Lady Kimmy's easy enough to take out here. Okay. So this is my speed team. So this is a team that I want them to do as much damage as possible. And it's skilled around being going before they do. Aside from him having unkillable, you saw we were able to one-shot everybody with Hefrak, who's one of the top PvP nukers in the game. And he has that ignore defense gear, so it doesn't matter how strong or how much defense these teams had, we were able to break through over time. But Stultus doesn't hit as hard as I want him to. For me, that factor is not having gear that it can ignore defense. If we look at my Stultus as well, by the way, before you tell me, like, just put that gear on him, I don't have it right now. If I had it, he'd be in it. There he is. So masteries, we're ignoring defense with Helm Smasher. You know, I'm doing everything I can to try and ignore as much defense on the champions as possible, but it's just, you know, he doesn't hit hard enough, but he is built pretty strong. If we look over his build again, we've got over 5,000 defense. He's a defense-based champion. Full crit rate, 240% crit damage. My most crit damage is on my Mortu Macabre, who has 291%. But he's also limited because he's in Stone Skin. Sun Wukong is what, 236? I don't think I have. Trunda might be built slightly better than all of them. No, 269 still for Trunda. So, um, what's a Krizia? A Krizia is 263. I would love to see her with more crit damage, but she is not built for PvP. We want her specifically in a specific gear set here. So, let's get back to your question. Why aren't you doing enough damage with Ray? Well, first and foremost, if we were on my free-to-play, my Sun Wukong on the free-to-play is in crit damage gloves. This is hard to achieve. I want to be clear about that for you and everybody else. Finding crit damage gloves and still being able to get 100% crit rate on your team is a challenge. It is not easy to do. I think we've done it with Staltus, but you'll see that I'm struggling to get a proper gear set. What are some of my other, like Newt? I've got Newt in crit damage, thankfully. But he's got a triple roll on crit rate, and we're still only 86% extra crit rates. We're only one over the crit rate cap. So that does require that you have some really good pieces with crit rate on them throughout the account. So what is the second option? Okay, so let's say, my first recommendation is try to build Ray with crit damage gloves and find crit rate elsewhere. Ignore sets. Okay, my Sun Wukong, I don't think he, other than the Killstroke set that he has. I'm gonna do something real quick while I'm talking. I'm gonna nope. Okay, I'm gonna swap over to my Sun Wukong because I think it's more relevant over there, as well as my Kale, because my Kale hits just as hard. So my first recommendation is try to get crit damage gauntlets on your champion. I think that is a big part of being able to do a lot of damage. I want to get this stuff. If you didn't already see, we are in the middle of the new year. Free chain. Okay. So I'm going to ignore all the red dots that hurt my soul. So, crit damage gloves. Now you'll see they've got crit rate on them. And now he does have one set. He has the Killstroke set. I got very lucky with rolls on this. And I got 2 rolls on the crit rate there and 1 roll on the crit rate here. That's why I'm able to do it. Part of it is luck. But you want to make sure that if you can, it's not easy to do, but if you can, put crit damage gloves on your champion and find crit rate from the other pieces. You'll see every single piece of gear on this champion has crit rate, and I'm still only able to get 101%. Okay? It's hard to do, but if you are able to do it, that is 65% extra crit damage. That's a lot. And that's what gives him 230% crit damage. So, like, you saw my champions on my main account were at, like, 260% crit damage. Not that much higher than what I currently have on my Sun Wukong. Now, part of that is also the amulet. You want to have crit damage as your amulet. If you don't have crit damage as your amulet, that's a big hit. Crit damage matters a lot. Now, your base attack does too, but crit damage, the way that the multipliers work and amplify the amount of damage, having that extra critical damage makes a big impact. However, there is a trap here. And one of those traps is not having enough of the main stat. Now, you can usually get away with this by having main stat on your chest and then having main stat on your ring and your banner with hopefully some percentage-based substats that boost it even further. So I'm getting 13% extra attack as well as the base attack here. Now, for this character, I need accuracy because of what I need him to do. But if I wanted him just as a nuker, I would do this as attack. And I don't think banners can roll. No, they can roll percent stats. Yeah, so I would probably do... In fact, if I saw an accuracy banner that had percent attack with it, I would use that. But anyways, so the trap you can fall into is, let's say that your goal is, I want him to have crit damage gloves, and so you put everything else that has crit rate on them, but it's crit rate and then HP and defense and accuracy, and HP and defense and accuracy, and HP and defense and accuracy, but you're not getting any attack. Well, your champion's not going to have bonus to their attack, and they're going to hit weaker. So all that crit damage, like, you could get a champion that has 350 crit damage, but if they don't have any base, if they don't have any attack, and they're only doing, if he only has 1,586 attack, and you have 300 crit damage, it doesn't really even out. You're sacrificing too much of the base damage in order to get that multiplier to be impactful. Now, I find I'm able to get around that by using an attack percent chest on champions that are attack based. And ideally, you want to look for gear that has the best of everything. So what would be the best possible gloves for a Sun Wukong? This is what I do to gear my champions. I would do primary stat, crit damage. Like, we're focused on gloves right now, okay? What substats do I want? If I could have 4 substats, what do I want them to be? Well, crit rate, of course, attack percent, of course, and then probably speed and accuracy. And that's what you would start with as a filter. Okay, so now we don't have that gear on the account. I'm going to include equipped. So let's start saying, okay, well, what would I want less than accuracy? Or what would I want less of the 3? Well, accuracy would be it. Okay, well, I don't want... So now I need crit rate, attack, and speed. I'll take less speed. Boom, there we go. I've got 2 options now to put on my champion. And then let's take away the attack percent, and now I have more. So work your way down from an ideal piece. Let's do the same thing with chest. I want a chest that has attack percent, and I would want it to have substats of crit rate, crit damage, speed, and accuracy for this champion. Now, you may not always want accuracy. You may want it to be extra health, or you may want it to be resistance if you're talking arena, right? Because you don't want them to land their debuffs on you. All right, so I do not have a piece that matches this setup. So the first thing that I can go without would be accuracy. Okay, now I've got 2 pieces to work with. Right? Now, the reason that this piece is the one that's on him is because I get more crit rate. If I lost the 4 crit rate here, that would put me sub 100%. So that's why that piece got removed. Let's say these pieces weren't there. Okay, well, I can go with a little less speed. Now we're looking at chest only, right? Well, I don't want to use a 4-star piece. So let's say, what would I want more out of crit rate or crit damage? We'll say crit rate. And now you've opened up a lot more of your options. And that's a good way to proceed. Now, if you're at the point where you're like, okay, well, I don't have any items that get me crit rate and crit damage, but do any of these items get me extra attack percent? No, they don't. Okay. What about speed? Oh, hey, look, there's some that give me speed too. So we could possibly use those. So that's how I go about gearing my champion to make sure I have the best possible gear on them, and therefore can get the best possible amount of damage. The other factors about why your champion may not be hitting hard, because I didn't see you specifically say anything. You talked about raise gear. What about the rest of your team? Okay. Let's find an arena against a slow opponent here. They look slow enough. I'm gonna take it off auto. So Ray by herself hits hard. We know this. But does she have what she needs to get maximum value out of her damage? So she's an attack-based damage dealer. Do you have decreased defense on the enemy team? Do you have increased attack on your Ray before she hits? Look at those big hits. Those are massive hits. Now, he's Spirit Affinity. These are Force Affinity. These were weak opponents. But my Magic... No, wait. They're just tanky. It would seem. Oh, no. Yeah, she's Magic. Yeah. He's Force. He's tanky. She's Magic. And he got a weak hit, I'm assuming. So, getting those debuffs on the enemy team. So you want to get those debuffs on the enemy team. And you also want to boost your damage output from the champions on your team. So Sun Wukong hits this hard not only because of his gear and having that high crit damage. He's also hitting that hard because he has an increased attack buff and decreased defense on the enemy team. So you want to make sure that you're building around Ray as well. Just building Ray to hit as hard as possible is not the answer. You need to have a team that works in a specific order to maximize your chances of success. Otherwise, you're just going to end up hitting flat. Okay, sorry. I'm clicking red buttons I need to not. Let's see. What else can go into why my champions hit so much harder? I'm lucky with Killstroke gear. I'm getting 20% extra crit damage, and I happen to be also getting 31% crit rate across these two pieces, as well as an additional 17% crit damage. Like, these pieces are insane, and they're not even ascended. So while you may be putting your best pieces of gear on your Ray, they may be much weaker compared to mine, and that's just something that you need to understand. Everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. When I go and watch, so there's a content creator, Saf, who is part of the Hell Hades Gaming Network, and he runs a team very similar to my main team on my my clan boss team on my main account, which is it's called the Myth Fu, where you use Demitha and Fushan, Seeker, Eris. He's replaced Eris in that team, I think, and then a DPS. And this specific team is what he uses. His Fushan dwarfs me in damage. Like, my Fushan hits for 100k a hit. His is doing 300k a hit. It's insane. When I watch him, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I go through and I try to build the gear better on Fushan, and I'm like, I just don't have the gear, you know? So you have to, and he's also got full Great Hall progression, full, potentially full or better faction guardians than what I have on my account. Like, there are factors that go into so don't always equate what I'm able to do with that you should be able to do the same thing. You've been playing for a while, you said that in your sub comment, but a big part of it is just making sure that you're doing all of the things right, and that may just be the most damage you can get out of Ray. Maybe you're just at a difficulty You didn't say if you're in like gold 3 or gold 4 or silver 4 or what, but you may just be at a difficulty where you're not Ray's damage output is just less than what you're competing against. Candifron, Hefrak, those they're Leorius, Sun Wukong, they're gonna hit harder than Ray, I think. I haven't built her yet on my account, but I do plan on building her, and I do expect her to hit very hard um, with her kit. So also, and again, that she hits more while champions are under debuff, so you need them to be before she's attacking. You really want her to be to have them under decreased defense because she will hit harder just by default, right? So you need to be getting that champion to go before her. If you don't have a Deacon Armstrong, go farm a War Maiden from campaign. All right. And so I hope that kind of answers your question. It's all about the it's not just about building the best gear on them. The external factors matter and making sure that you're giving your nuker their best opportunity to do as much damage as possible. And don't forget, weak hits happen. We had a Valkyrie. What is it? Is it Valkyrie? What is her name? No, it's Syl. We had a Syl on the other team. We couldn't kill her, even though my champion is built to the moon for a free to play account that's only 100 days old or 100 plus days old. I still couldn't kill a Syl because weak hits matter. So, all right, that was a very, very long answer, but I hope that it was a detailed enough answer for you to find some areas where you may want to look into possibly improving your Ray. Let me know how it works. Let me know. Feel free to show me builds and give me more information, and we can talk more about that in the future. Now, I think these next couple of questions are going to be a little bit easier. I'm going to skip to number 3 here. So this was congrats on 500. And then Isma6049 asked, I didn't first get why you wouldn't pull all primals when there is a 2x for them and save the other shards. But you ended up doing that anyway. So in that video, I briefly said, I'm not going to open all of my primal shards. And let me explain why you could save shards. I agree with you. There was no point in me saving primal shards. Well, no, there is. So I save shards on my main account for a couple reasons. Like for example, today I did a pull of my sacreds during a 2x, and I only pulled 7 of them because I was going for the Gwendolyn event. That's why you save. There's several reasons to save shards. On a regular basis or on a free-to-play account like this, you save your shards to pull during 2x events. However, on a late game account where I want specific legendaries, okay? I have Clan Boss Ultra Nightmare on farm. I have Hydra through Brutal on farm. I have Doom Tower all stages completed on Doom Tower. Faction Wars is done on my main account. So what am I pulling shards for? I want specific champions to speed up my runs or give me more flexibility for other areas of the game. Areas that I'm weakest on. Hard Fire Knight. City of Sintranos. I would love to improve my Hydra team and get more consistency out of it as well. So how do I accomplish these things? Well, there are specific champions that I want, okay? For Hydra, I want a Necmo Thar, okay? For Hard Fire Knight, I want a second Newt. For most content, I want a second Newt that I could put in lethal gear. Um, one that is focused on boss killing and not also needing to have accuracy. Um, for PvP, I am looking for some. Well, I need supports as well. I need a Siphi, or I need. I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now. Duchess, right? These are champions that I want on my main account. So as somebody that has enough legendaries to get through the game but wants specific ones to improve my roster, giving myself a 12% chance or a 1% chance in the case of primals to get a random legendary that could be, and we got Nari the Lucky when we did that pull. I do not need Nari the Lucky on this account at all. Not a champion I needed, right? So when you take that into consideration, it 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 makes certain parts of the game more viable for me now. So when a fragment summon like Gwendolyn comes out through the Deck of Fates event, I had a bunch of sacreds that I could pull for it, and a bunch of primals that I could pull for it. Let's say that next week they put a 25x out for primal shards only for Nekmothar, and I pulled all of my primal shards. I can't go for that progressive chance event because I don't have them. So I like to save my shards to go for those specific champions and specific events. I also am not a huge fan of mythical champions. I have one mythical champion on my main account already. She's a good champion and has brought some value to my account. It's Lady Mikage. However, most of them I find to be underwhelming for what I need in this game. I really need specific champions, and aside from the best one, she Night Rev? Yeah, Crixia. I don't see myself using many of these other mythical champions that are out there. So I'm not saying that they're all bad. I'm just saying that they are complicated to get them to fit and work with my existing roster. So, so pulling during mythicals is less valuable to me on my main account. I would rather save up for a summon rush. Like, let's say the next fusion after Blizzard's done is Newt 2.0. Well, I've got 3 Sacreds to put into a summon rush right now. And if I would have saved those primals, I would have had 10 primals to put into it as well. So it's all about what you're going for. On my free-to-play account, hell no, I don't want to save those shards. I'm going to spend those shards during a 2x event. Give me any legendary. Give me a Nari the Lucky. Maybe I can find... That's a bad example. He's not great. But there are some... Like, give me a Ray. A Ray, right? I've been talking about her all video. She is a PvP nuker that's probably not in the conversation of, like, the best, but she's viable. And for a free-to-play account, viable is what you want, you know? So it's all about what you need and what, you know, what you're looking for at that time. So if you're on an account that isn't as far progressed as my main account, then yeah, you want to pull shards all the time. Even the content creators who are pulling shards for their videos, you know, their shard pull videos and everything like that, they're constantly pulling during 10x's or now the progressive chance events. They don't really pull during the 2x's that much unless there's another event coinciding with that. Because they're looking for those specific legendaries. They want their Calvalaxes. They want their Kymars, which is another champion that I would want on my main account, would be Kymar. So it's all about what you need. But on my free to play account, let's just pick a random. We'll go Orcs. You know, if I was to get like a Jag, I have him on my main account. I've never built him. I never used him. He's very underwhelming. But on my free to play account, Jag would be really, really solid. He would put in a ton of work for me, and I would be thrilled to get him, right? So and that's just a random legendary that I just kind of picked, right? Let's not go dwarves. There are a ton of good dwarven champions. Drakgol here. This is a champion that I pulled on my main account, have no use for at this point on the main account, but he would be amazing on my free to play. We're bringing block damage, we're bringing shields, stun on the A1, like we're bringing increased attack and defense on the same ability. That's huge. That's huge. Like, he could then be, instead of running Ursula, I could probably run him and get a little bit of extra damage while also giving myself increased attack, which is what she's there for. So I hope that answers your question about, like, why would you save shards? And that was a stretch. I told you guys I had to go digging for some of these questions. All right. Next question. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. This is an easy one. This is from Boxy Games 3735. Your methods are solid for an early free-to-play account, but I'm currently low spend / free-to-play sitting in the mid-game, extremely close to end game, and my current issue is my roster as well as my gear. I don't have enough champs leveled or geared to deal with the new content that just released. And I feel like that's an issue that's going to plague a lot of free-to-play players that are like me. 100% right. The new content is great, but it is not free-to-play friendly. You'll see on normal, this is as far as I'm able to get. I don't have enough ascension. I might be able to beat her now. No, yeah, see, I don't have the champions for it. That's why. If I could use all my champions, we're fine, but I don't have the champions to beat either one of these bosses. Well, guess what? I'm not meant to. My account is 100 days old. Okay? Now, you did not mention how old your account is, but I'm 117 days old. I haven't even been playing it for 3 months on this account. The Cursed City is not meant to be early game friendly. And unfortunately, that makes it very unfriendly to free-to-play players because your early game in free-to-play is extended. What does money do in Raid Shadow Legends? It speeds things up. If I ran... We talked about not having gear on my main account, like Savage. If I ran Hard Fire Night 10 for 3 weeks using only my energy refills that I get daily, I would probably get enough Savage gear to put together a set for a champion. And these are just random numbers that are hyperbolic, so don't quote me on any of that. How could I make that go faster? Well, we're talking about, let's say 300 energy per day or something like that, right? Well, I could just go buy 3,000 energy. And now I put all that energy into Hard Fire Night or 6,000 energy or whatever. I put that all into Hard Fire Night and I walk out of there with more gear, right? Okay, well, I need to summon champions, right? I don't have, let's look at from a free-to-play perspective. Right now, I want to progress on normal Cursed City. I need I need better champions from Knights Revenant faction to progress and do this boss. Well, how do I get more champions? I get shards. Well, how do I get shards? I buy them. That's what money does. It speeds up the game. But as a free-to-play player, it's going to take a very long time. I'm going to be honest with you. This is a ballpark analysis. I would not be surprised if it would take a free-to-play player possibly okay. Given all the special events and given all the information on YouTube, I'll backtrack a little bit and say maybe 2 years. I was going to say 3 years for a free-to-play player to beat City of Sintranos. And that's because of the limiting nature of this content. Because of the limits that they are putting on champions that you can use, it makes it very, very difficult. By the way, guys, if you don't know, on hard, is it stage 21? I think S21. No, it's not. It's not stage 21. Oh, stage 19. Yeah, it's this one. So, at the time of this recording, only 26 people in the world have beat stage 19 of hard. And none of these are content creators, I want to point out, right? That's how hard this content is. Those people that did it have been playing the game for how many years? But, you're in the mid game. This content isn't for you. And so that may sound like that's not meant to be mean, and I don't think it even sounds mean. It's just the reality that the content of City of Sintranos is not meant for you to be able to clear it. And I would argue that Doom Tower isn't even meant for this account to clear. I just got really friggin' lucky to get a Geomancer. If anybody that doesn't have a Geomancer on their account isn't getting this far into Doom Tower, right? It's just reality. So I know that's not the answer that people want, but the City of Sintranos isn't for free-to-play players. Well, it is. It is for free-to-play players who have been playing the game for 2 to 3 years. Hell Hades often has a player on his channel, and so does Ash. They have 2 different players that are free-to-play players that have been playing for a very long time and have acquired accounts that are arguably stronger than the pay-to-win accounts of Hell Hades and Ash. And they're completely free to play, and but they've been playing for a long time, and they are very careful about how they spend their resources so that they can go for the champions that make a difference. But I'm going to tell you, they may have some struggles now going into Cursed City because their rosters have been so heavily focused on really good champions and not necessarily focused on the broad strokes. But I don't know. I don't know their rosters by heart. I just remember that seeing, really, like +4 champions and being like, man, those are really, really solid champions. So, anyways, you'll get there eventually. On my main account, I thought I would never be able to finish Doom Tower. I was like, this is insane. I'll never be able to get through it. I've cleared it. I've mentioned that on this video. I've got all three rotations down, and it took me a very long time to do. So you will get there. Have faith. In the meantime, take advantage of whatever you can do in City of Sintranos. Get as far as you can on normal and hard, and maximize your resources from them, and then wait for the next reset and do it all over again. I'm stalled on both my accounts. I cannot get any further in normal or hard on my main account, and same on my free to play. And my main account did not get all 3 keys on hard to do the boss. So, um, even my main account, for as powerful of an account as it is, isn't at the level that you should be to be able to do Sintranos. But I know I'll get there. Okay, so I hope that helps. All right, last question. So this one was very broad, which is why I saved it for last, because I knew I could do 2 hours on this question alone. Um, you know, honestly, my entire channel is best tips for a free to play account, right? So how do I answer this? Well, let's talk mentality. I've already touched on it briefly about patience. Patience is the biggest value, or the biggest tip I can give a free to play player, is be patient. Some ways that I've demonstrated that patience: waiting for good champions. So on my main account, when I first started playing, I leveled up a Skull Swarm. I got him really early in campaign, and I recognized that I did a lot of damage from his counterattack. And so I said, this champion is really good. And I put resources into him to try and get him to do a lot of damage for my account. Now, he's not a bad champion, but the resources could have been better spent on subsequent champions. So being patient and waiting for the good champions and not investing too heavily in average champions. Let's talk about that on this account. Husk. Husk is a good champion. I feel so bad. Husk got a really raw deal on this account. But Husk is very niche. He's very Hydra specific. He does have value because he has an AoE stun and enemy max HP damage. So he has value elsewhere in the game. But for the most part, he's very effective in Hydra. Hydra is not a priority for this account, just like City of Sintranos isn't a priority on this account. So I keep him, and I would have built him, but then I waited, right? I was patient. And what did I get? I got Geomancer, who changed my game. We launched the account forward after we got Geomancer. Clan boss, we got Nightmare. Because of that, we've got Dragon on 20. We're making Doom Tower progression based solely on the fact that I can cheese bosses that I shouldn't be able to kill using Geomancer. Okay? That amount of patience has paid off. Books. I've been patient about, not investing books into every single champion. You'll see Husk. Husk is booked out because, I knew I would use him at some point. But yeah, patience is one of the best tips that I would give is don't just jump at the first epic that you get. I pulled quite a few. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. The other thing too is I also had, before even Husk, I had Hofrees and Dur, who are champions that I could have taken and completely leveled up. And I said, no, I'm going to be patient and wait. And I was rewarded by getting one of the best epics in the game in Geomancer. And I'm now being carried by him and able to cheese most content in this game. Okay. So patience is number one. Number two is research and learning. Watch videos. You're already watching my content. Don't just watch mine. Watch other people's content. Get information about how stuff is supposed to be done or the most efficient way at doing them. Um, a lot of stuff that's out there is great advice, but it feels counterintuitive. For example, a common strategy for completing champion training events and tournaments is wasting your brews on food. It's very counterintuitive, but it adds up to a lot of points, and I think there's a lot of value there. So, understanding those strategies, but also understanding the mechanics behind speed tuning teams, not just clan boss, but arena teams, making sure that your teams go in a specific order so that you optimize your output, stuff like that. It takes a lot of time to learn and understand. I'm still doing it. I go and make videos trying to teach you guys about Hydra and other things, and I start reading stuff, and I'm like, wait, that head does that? You know what I mean? Like I don't know everything, and it's a constant learning process and developing. I got to tell you guys, I've been telling you on this very channel that decreased speed is good for clan boss. Hey, guess what? No, it's not. Decreased speed doesn't work on clan boss. Guess who found that out yesterday? This guy, right? So, like, research, watch other content creators. Don't just watch one, because you're going to hear something or see something that other people don't know or missed. So yeah, you want to make sure that you are learning everything and educating yourself on the game. That would be tip number 2. I guess I don't really have a third tip, because those kind of check both boxes about what really needs to be done in order to succeed on free to play. Having patience and having an understanding of the game. I had a friend of mine that I tried to teach how to play the game, and I'm like, yeah, you need to do clan boss to get these really good rewards, but they didn't want to join a clan. And that's fine. Like, enjoy the game how you want to enjoy it, right? But uh, the reality is that you're holding yourself up. So you need to be open to, if you want to truly succeed in the game, you need to be open to doing these different types of things that may be outside your comfort zone. So, patience and understanding, which honestly, you could apply that to anything. Having patience and understanding is probably the key to life, right? But, uh, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Wait until it's the right time to pull your shards. Wait until it's the right time to book your champions. I will admit that I have not been patient on this account. I was forcing a lot of things when it came to my mercy with my ancient shards and stuff like that, where I wasn't pulling during 2x events, and I got burned. And I've been, my account is probably a little behind where it should be. I'm probably one less legendary than I should be because of how greedy I was with my ancient shards. So patience is key. All right, I'm going to call that a video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for all of your support, and I'll see you in the next video.